And this morning we continue our special segment called Future Forum Now. This unique event is in partnership with the Heroes Foundation and is meant to connect children with youth and the government and industry leaders and include their voices in national development discussions. Now, the Heroes Foundation plans to do this with its Generation to Generation Council, or G2G, which is the youth advisory team at Heroes and advises the organization at all levels from a youth perspective. Today we are joined by two members of G2G. We have Kaleb and Kevin Gonzales, and they will be discussing security and safety with Minister of National Security Fitzgerald Hinds and Communications Manager at the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, Ms. Joanne Archie. Good morning, all.
Good morning. Good morning.
Now, first, let's start off by hearing what the young people in TNT think about safety and security.
Trinidad and Tobago is our home.
We want to live together in safe communities.
We want to trust the protective service and seek action when reports are made.
We want to know that investigations will take place and the criminals will be caught.
We want to know that our borders are safe and protected from drugs, guns, and human trafficking.
We want a country without child abuse and where perpetrators are held accountable.
It is difficult for us to understand how there are so many problems when trying to deal with crime.
Police officers responded to a report of explosions at Building 6.
Sometimes we feel like we can't trust the police to investigate when reports are made, or that criminals won't be brought to justice. We don't like to feel like this.
We've heard stories about people calling the police for help and being told they're short-staffed and can't send anyone.
We've heard about the police saying that they can't really find the criminals because there's not enough evidence.
And we've heard they're working on it. But it seems like nothing happens.
We also can't understand why so many cases get thrown out of court for simple things like officers not showing up.
There isn't much child-friendly information easily accessible.
So we're not sure what is supposed to happen or what is in place right now to address these issues.
We have one home.
Trinidad and Tobago is our only home, and we have to work together to feel safe in our home.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Kaleb. I am very happy and excited to be here, and I'm accompanied with my colleague Kevin.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin, and I am extremely nervous to be here right now. But Minister, recently we saw a very good interview. I think it was last week, Tuesday, on TTD here itself. It was helping us understand very good the roles and functions of the protective services and even your role as minister. I would really like people to go and watch this interview because, as I said, it really helped us. But so Kaleb, what is something that the youth want to know?
Thank you, Kevin. One of the big things, or a big question that keeps on coming up is, why is there so much crime and what are the plans to deal with it?
Well, you know, I have, as a student of criminology, and as a human person and an experienced human being, I have come to some of my conclusions on this. I believe that crime, what we call crime are the society's response to certain serious behaviors coming from human beings within that society. I always say that all crimes are sins, but not all sins are crimes. It is a sin to hate, to be selfish, to be greedy, to have murderous thoughts, but those are not classified by the society through your parliament as crimes. Some of the more serious and adverse behaviors like murder and rape and arson and taking what is not yours, human trafficking, those are classified as crimes. All, however, are the result of or come from human behavior. So I say that the Ministry of National Security has the unenviable task of dealing with controlling human behaviors in the group, in the society, because not everyone buys into the social contract and take the position that I have to develop myself to contribute. I don't have to take what is not mine. I don't have to take more than my fair share, more than I deserve. And if I want more, I study more, I skill up more, I get more. Not everyone plays by those rules. So it's really, to me, dealing with the sinful nature of man. And that is what makes it so complex. And man has been sinful from creation. You know the biblical story that it was in heaven that Lucifer, one of God's greatest angels, became envious of the power of God. And he had to be cast out by Michael the archangel. And he landed right here on earth. And then Cain and Abel, 4 people in the world, 2 brothers. One became envious of the other because his sacrifice to God was more pleasing. And how did Cain resolve that? He became envious and then decided to murder his brother. And the Bible says that was the first time that the earth tasted human blood. I'm saying all of that to say that human beings are sinful by nature, and you cannot have a crime-free world unless you can achieve a sin-free world, and not even in heaven did we see that. So our job is to manage these behaviors. The society has subscribed that some of them are called crimes. The business of law enforcement is to prevent them as best as we can and to prosecute them, meaning to arrest persons and to take them before the system that the society set up to deal with these issues. That is to say, the courts. And so the story goes. It's a very, very complex issue.
Thank you, Minister. That's an interesting take on crime. One thing I heard you say is it is a response. In terms of crime, it is a response to something, and it's the sinful nature of man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we all live on one small island, Trinidad and Tobago, and I don't think we could cast away criminals or treat them how God has treated, or cast them to hell, right?
Right.
So what plan specifically is in place to address these wounds or these hurts in the population?
So that we have a good idea of what the social contract is, the rules of the game, and that is expressed in our constitution, it is expressed in our laws, and it is expressed in the things that we teach our children, socialization. Sure. And that socialization involves early childhood education, primary school, secondary school, so this and up to university and other tertiary learnings. The system has designed that. And then you have other social programs to deal with persons who are not academically inclined, so that the government for many, many, many decades have put many programs in place to allow our young people who we want to socialize into this social platform and be part of this social contract. We have given them opportunities in training, in tech voc training, in academics, in sport, business opportunities, all kinds of things, so that young people, citizens of the Republic, who will become old and tough like me one day, they have an opportunity to find a pathway through this life with the opportunities presented by Mother Trinidad and Tobago. So you don't have, if I could quote David Rudder, you don't have to cheat to be a winner. You can win, but you don't have to cheat and rob and steal and hurt other people, because that's no real win, in my view. So to answer your question in substance, it is about socializing our young people through education, through learning, strengthening the family, the communities, and all the opportunities available, hoping that at the end of the day you will get positive, beautiful young people like you rather than the contrary.
Thank you. Ms. Archie, you have anything to add on to that?
Well, the minister, he has put it so succinctly that we, as the law enforcers, excuse me, I have a slight sore throat.
That's okay.
I know you all see the police as beat and lock up, but as the minister put it now, in our view, we are prepared, and the organization has implemented strategies that we operate on the soft side of policing, and that is getting into the communities, and the harsh side that is required in certain circumstances. When I say the soft side now, it's under the principle that we prefer to prevent a crime than have to use our resources to investigate a crime. So what do we do? So in other words, I'm telling you, we are proactive and reactive. Proactive meaning we go into the communities. The organization has embraced the community policing philosophy, which combines a problem-solving approach and partnership. You may have heard us time after time on the television saying, partner with us. What it means for us is that we cannot operate in isolation. We understand that any strategy to prevent crime, community involvement is critical. And that's why we talk about the problem-solving approach. Go into the communities, identify the issues that give rise to crime, and come up with strategies to prevent those crimes occurring.
Yeah, that's a very interesting thing. Kaleb, you have anything to, like any suggestion, anything, or?
Actually, I do. I am glad that you all spoke about socialization, and through socialization, education. But what would you, is there a plan in place to keep things more consistent? A lot of people are saying through the same socialization and education that we receive, it doesn't seem to pan out all the time. Somebody who could have 8 passes, they could go and look for jobs, and they wouldn't be selected, they wouldn't get through, and jobs are very hard and scarce to come by these days. You know, I took up a job during the summer vacation, and it was very hard, you know, and for young people today, it is very hard for us to find a place and to be something. Yeah. So, for example, with the youth programs that you all have, it is the lack of funding sometimes. When I was in the cadet force, Yeah. And
congratulations.
One thing that kept on stopping us from going to let's do excursions is that they always said, yo, you can't go because the government didn't give us enough money to cover insurance. And maybe they'll go and do something else, maybe crime. So, as you said, I like how you mentioned the Bible, as you know, the devil finds things to do with idle hands. So, what is being done to really address that?
And you touched the issue really beautifully, because really our responsibility as policy shapers and key stakeholders in the business of the society, our responsibility is to provide the platform, provide the opportunities for you. I listen to you and I do understand. Even in my day, I was a cadet too. I was a cadet sergeant as well. And I remember one particular year when we had to go to a camp, and then there was an oil shock, 1973. I was expected to go to Canada that year. And it was cancelled because there was an oil crisis in the world. So things do happen in the world. But I think we can do a lot more. I think the systems are in place for my own part. I think that, seriously speaking, I think that a lot more can be done with the resources available to us, meaning Trinidad and Tobago. You'd be surprised to know that they didn't have the insurance, but money might have been wasted on other things. Or somebody simply would not have done their job. So I see, in the context of all that I tell you, I see some challenges to what we can do. I believe we have systems, workable systems. They can work. Not perfect, because we could improve them as we go along. But I think around those systems are we, the people, the productive force of Trinidad and Tobago. And I believe we don't work diligently and hard enough. All of us, wherever we are. I believe that. I also believe that there's a level of corruption that is interfering with what we should do. So money that was supposed to be designed for this ends up going somewhere else. And this is why we have to be on watch to make sure that the monies are properly allocated and properly used. And again, that requires law enforcement, because we have white-collar crime too. We have scamps, you know, who will steal the money for the youth development programs.
Yeah. And Minister, I'm going to pause you right there, because we do have to go to break. But of course, we can continue when we come back, just to give our audience, of course, a little synopsis of what we just discussed. I know that Ms. Archie would have spoken about that soft side and hard side of policing in terms of being proactive and reactive. I know Minister would have also mentioned managing and prosecuting and how we can use socialization and education to ensure that the young people stay off the streets. And so we're going to continue with those 2 points and other points when we come back from this break. So stay with us. Remember, you're on the Now Morning Show. The Heroes Foundation is joining us this morning, as well as the Minister of National Security, Mr. Fitzgerald Hinds, and of course, Ms. Joanne Archie, the Communications Manager at the TTPS. Stay with us.
I got my head out the sunroof. I'm blasting our favorite tunes. I only got one.
This is our Future Forum on Now segment, where we're discussing safety and security. Joining us, of course, from the Heroes Foundation, we have Kevin and Kaleb, and they are joined by the Minister of National Security, Minister Fitzgerald Hinds, and of course, Manager of Communications at the TTPS, Ms. Joanne Archie. I'm going to turn it over to Kaleb now because I feel he has an interesting question coming up for any one of our two guests.
Thank you. This next question is, Minister, or I think I should direct this to the Ms. Archie. Ms. Archie, Spanish-speaking migrants are a big part of our country now. They are a significant part of our population, and there is a language barrier that needs to be bridged. Does the TTPS have anything in place to, let's say, bridge that barrier?
Yes, we do. We have taken into consideration that they are now part of the public in Trinidad and Tobago. And if we are to stem the flow and the crime in Trinidad, we have to cater for all religious, all ethnic background. We have to cater for our visitors, who their language would be different from ours. Our youth clubs accommodate members of the Venezuelan community as well, the children. There are other police officers. I know of one Freely Give Foundation by a woman police who she has homework centers and catering for the Venezuelan migrant. So they are considered, there are classes in English for the children of these migrants. So I mean, to operate in isolation of the persons who form part of our community, that would not make sense. And then we look at we partner with the other NGOs in the community, Vision and Mission, and they cater for these young children who, some of them may not have gotten into schools. So there is a lot going on in the communities to accommodate the children of these Venezuelan migrants.
Thank you very much, Ms. Archie.
You're most welcome.
I had no idea that was
Yes,
happening.
it's happening.
I'm grateful to hear that was happening, because also in our program, we have some people who came from Venezuela and actually are integrated into the program. And it's nice to hear that they are catered for, that there's something being done, and wow.
Indeed.
A little nervous, but...
And let me just add very quickly, even at the general level of the Administration of National Security, and we have the counter-trafficking unit, which deals with protecting them from human trafficking. We have a whole regime, laws in place to protect them and others from the business of human trafficking. But we actually teach Spanish to our Coast Guard, all the agencies. Spanish is being taught so that they could communicate effectively with them.
I'll go first, right? One of the problems one of the questions we got from one of our Spanish-speaking persons in the Heroes Foundation was that they have problems when they go to the station that they don't have anybody to speak Spanish. And you said that you teach the Coast Guard and all these other regiments Spanish, but is that also integrated into the stations as well?
The police as well, and because we do have police involved in the counter-trafficking business specifically, but I personally know at least 3 police officers who speak Spanish fluently. And I know as a lawyer now, when a non-English speaking person finds themselves interfacing with the police, especially if they are arrested for something, the law provides that an interpreter must be present in order to assist in that investigation, the recording of the statements and so on. So the law caters for that as well. So even though they may not meet a Spanish-speaking person there at the station at the time, it can easily be accessed as necessary.
Okay, but like if a Spanish speaker is to go to make a report, one of the suggestions we actually have was to have a translator or at least an officer that is bilingual with at least basics of Spanish.
Well, yes, of course. You mean every police officer?
Not every police officer,
Yeah,
at least one
that's
police
the ideal
station.
position.
That
yes,
is the ideal
but I'm
feature.
saying to you, yes, I take your point, and it's a very useful point, but I'm saying that, yes, that already exists. There will be available Spanish-speaking persons to assist if necessary in that regard. Am I correct?
Yes, you are, sir. There are police officers, there are courses being conducted now to train the police officers to speak Spanish as well so that they can interact with members of the public.
Okay, that is very helpful. I did not know these things were going on.
Cantonese as well, Mandarin, all, as long as as long as because what the police have at its disposal in compliance with the law, a body of interpreters, persons who are trained and who will assist in interpreting. I've been involved in many cases that involve Spanish-speaking people. As a lawyer, I'm talking about, and the court has at its disposal an interpreter, even in the context of giving evidence in court.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Ms. Archie, I think I would have to ask you this one because since we're coming up on the carnival season, like extremely soon, what are the plans specifically to deal with the safety and security?
Well, Carnival is a staple on our calendar, and since our brand is for safety and security for all, we continue to remind members of the public. We go out there and we provide safety tips. We have 9 police ambassadors who appear on various media platforms where they sensitize the public and make them aware of how they can keep themselves safe during the period of Carnival. As we sit here now, the stakeholders, we are meeting with external stakeholders to flesh out how would we man the Carnival. We are almost ready since the season has started. And I can tell you, they say it's the mother-born Carnival, but I can tell you it will be the safest Carnival for us as police officers, for members of the public, and for our visitors.
Is there like anything specifically you could tell us they're going to do, or is it?
Well, we will ensure that there is an adequate strength of police officers out there. Police officers would be on foot, mobile, in the air, on the sea, and in every nook and cranny where we have people assembled.
Okay, talking about the carnival thing, right? In 2020, the commissioner at the time had a review, the carnival review, and he mentioned the drones, high-tech drones. Are these still in use, and could you tell us about them?
Well, I wouldn't go into details, but I can tell you, as I mentioned, that we will be in the air, on the ground, and every space that is occupied by the public for the carnival. Persons, members of the public, and our visitors can be rest assured that they will be safe for this carnival and onwards.
That's very good. Kaleb, you have anything to add to that?
No, but I would like to ask this question to both the minister and probably Ms. Archie as well. Speaking about assets, such as drones, what methodology is in place to ensure that they are maintained, upgraded, or even retrofitted?
Well, from my standpoint, I'm aware when we contract these services, when we purchase technology, there is a maintenance and logistics program attached to that to ensure that they are properly maintained. So yes, that is in place, and as I say, in the contract stage, that is put in place. So you will have a 5-year maintenance program, depending on what the asset is, in order to ensure that it is effectively used and we get value for money.
Okay, thank you. I recently heard, Minister, that there's supposed to be X-ray machines coming in for the port.
Yes.
I heard that you all did the procurement for bringing it down, mobilize it, and everything.
Yes.
Can we get a time frame of when that will be happening?
It's happening. It would be crazy of me to say a specific date. What I can give you the assurance, it's happening with urgency. We understand the need for these scanners. We have fixed scanners on the port to do the containers, and then there are some mobile containers. What we may not have had are the, I forget what they call them, but smaller pieces to scan smaller items. Because what we discovered, last week I was at a function and I met the Antiguan Prime Minister, the St. Lucian Prime Minister, I think it was, showed me on his phone a picture. They imported some guns in the compressor of a piece of equipment, and well, it was a compressor. And to the human eye, or even our dogs, it would never have been detected. It was scanning that did that. So we do some scanning, but we have to do more, and we have to do it urgently because we have recently come to the conclusion as a society that our legal ports of entry is our biggest threat, and therefore we're stepping up our game. So in terms of your question, yeah, it's happening at a rate, and we must do it very quickly to boost up that which we already have.
Sure. Minister, I liked how you brought up the ports of entry.
Yes.
Go
ahead.
Yeah, no problem. Is there anything being done, like let's say with the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard, to ensure, like, to ramp up the patrols, the surveillance of the waters and the coast, as there are so many ports of entry as we are a small island?
Yes, there are about 264 identified illegal ports of entry, or places that people do access once not properly patrolled and so on. And of course we have our legal ports. So it involves, that border security involves assets in the air, as you would have heard. We have a 360 national coastal radar system. I've seen it operate on several occasions. It is able to detect anything that is coming into our space, and there are many things. They also have to identify whether that is a serious threat or whether it is not a threat, and their expertise allows for that. Once a threat is identified, we do have sea assets, vessels, and the idea is to be an interceptors, what they call ship's boats, smaller ones that come off the larger craft into the water to go check it out, see what's going down. We use drones as well, and we are improving our drone capacity now as we speak. And so it involves all of that. So, and then we have the Coastal and Riverine Patrol Unit of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. They deal with our rivers and our immediate coastlines out to 2 miles, and then larger vessels take up from 2 miles out to 12. And then, of course, we have our OPV plan to deal with areas a little further from our coastline. So it's a very well-organized border security issue, but the human spirit is what it is. People still find a way through, as I told you, so we fight.
But Minister, okay, one quick suggestion. It's often said that our protective service personnel does not do anything. They say that all they do is come and shine their boots, eat rations, go home. What I suggest is that we could probably do a documentary into the day of the life of the operations of these protective services, and to show the public that what they do.
Because that is a myth. I mean, I can tell you, I am in a position to tell you as a former police officer myself, and as a minister, as a parliamentarian, I am in a position to say, especially as minister, that these guys and these ladies, real work, risky work. When we are asleep, they are out there. I mean, it's just Trinidadian talk about they only shine boots. But you are quite right. It is our responsibility to do more for the benefit of those who may not know. And you have made a wonderful suggestion, I am sure you might consider it.
Thank you.
And Minister and Ms. Archie, let me thank you so much for joining us this morning. I like our Minister was talking about the counter-trafficking unit, of course, and how we can help the immigrants who are coming in. I know also, I like that you said Ms. Archie is going to be the safest carnival ever, and you're saying that, of course, the police is going to be in the air, on the ground, and, of course, in every nook and cranny of TNT to ensure that everybody is safe. And we got the update from the Minister, Kaleb. I like that in terms of what the ministry is doing to ensure that those illegal ports of entry are manned, and that so we can keep our borders safe and controlled. So thank you everybody for joining us. Of course, Manager of the TTPS, the Communications Department, Ms. Joanne Archie, the Honorable Fitzgerald Hinds, the Minister of National Security, Kaleb and Kevin from the G2G Council of the Heroes Foundation. Thank you so much as we were discussing safety and security in TNT. You're the Now Morning Show. We're going to take a break and be right back. Stay with us.